All right. So, what is your name and how old are you?
My name is Jared Cooper, and I am 21.
Awesome. Okay. What do you currently do for a living?
For a living right now, um, I am a full-time student at the University of Oklahoma, graduating in May, and then um, I'm also a student worker at the cafeteria in Headington Hall, which is like our student athlete dorms, and so I work there to like make money and things.
Awesome. So, what do you plan to do after you graduate?
After I graduate, I'm going to law school. Um, so I'm really excited for that and to see what that looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Tell me a little bit about your family.
So my family, uh, so growing up, my family was together, and it was like me, my dad, my mom, and my sister. And then my freshman year of college, my parents have been going through some stuff, and it just wasn't really working out. And so they ended up splitting and getting a divorce. And so now um, it's mostly just me, my mom, and my sister because my dad lives in Ohio.
All right. How does that make you feel that your dad is so far away from you than what he previously was?
It's definitely like made the dynamic really interesting because he's not like right here. He's like a 14, 15 hour drive away.
Wow.
And so he will come he comes pretty often to like see us.
Mhm.
Uh, but a lot of our interactions are like over Zoom or like a phone call or something like that.
Right. Okay. Where did you grow up as a child?
So as a child, we actually moved around a lot. So I was born in San Angelo, Texas, which is like a little town, kind of like West Texas, um, or like Southwest Texas. And then we moved to San Antonio because my parents got a job there. And then my dad got a job here at Tinker. And so we moved to Oklahoma when I was in sixth grade. And so I kind of call more Oklahoma like my home, even though it's not really like my hometown.
Right.
But I've been here for a majority of my life now.
Right, definitely. So that kind of leads into my next question. You kind of answered it. I was going to ask, where do you consider home? So you would say more Oklahoma.
Yeah, I would say more is my home just because I've lived in the area for since sixth grade. So that's like, let's see, that's 6 years plus 5 years, so like 11 years. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Do you have a photo you would like to share of your family? Who's in the photo?
Yeah, so I have this photo here. So that's me, my mom, and my sister um, on, I think that was Easter last year.
Wow. What'd you
This
guys
is like
do
the
on
first
that?
picture I have.
What'd you guys do on that Easter?
That Easter, my mom made dinner, and so we had dinner, and then church was virtual that day because they didn't want like everyone to come because it was like peak COVID time, and so we just watched TV or we watched the service like on TV.
Nice. Nice. You
Yeah.
have an item that has special meaning to you. Why is it special?
So this is a little necklace that I got from my grandma on my birthday, um, and it's special to me because she passed away recently. She passed away in December, and so it's like the last thing that I had from her. And so sometimes I'll wear it if I'm uh, like if I have like an interview or if I'm like going to do something, just so she's like kind of with me. But yeah.
That's really sweet. Um, who were your childhood friends? Did you have a friend who was another race?
Um, Childhood friends. So I think a lot of my friends growing up um, were white. I don't think I had a lot. I don't think I had very many, if any, black friends growing up. because I tended to go to like private school, and so I tended to be like one of the few black kids in my grade or whatever, and so I just kind of gravitated towards people who weren't necessary like didn't necessarily look like me. And so I think of my friends Megan and Jordan, who were like my really good friends in, I want to say like second or first grade, second grade, kind of.
Yeah.
Uh, like we went to private school together. My mom was really good friends with their mom, and so we'd like hang out and stuff. And then, hmm, and kind of fast forwarding a little bit when I got here, I think one of my really good friends, even now, his name's Noah, and he is, I think, like Hispanic Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And so we've been friends since, I want to say, like seventh grade, and
Yeah.
we're still friends now. So
That's cool. That's always cool. How were those relationships for you?
I think they were good. I don't think there was ever really like any tension or anything about race, just because I was so young,
Right.
and so it wasn't like race was a big like factor in
Yeah.
my friendships with people.
Definitely. Definitely. What are your hobbies?
My hobbies, when I have free time, I end up sitting on TikTok for like 2 or 3 hours just casually, and then let's see, I also really like I've gotten really into anime recently, and so I'll like sit and watch animes for hours on end and just like go through whole seasons of the show.
Nice, nice. Is there any reason that limits you from indulging in them as much as you would like to?
Um, I think just like school and being involved,
Yeah.
like that kind of takes up a big chunk of time, and so I can like sit on TikTok when I have a second, or
Mm,
I can like watch a show when I'm not really like busy doing homework or like
sure.
preparing for a meeting or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. How would you describe yourself physically?
Um, Physically, I would say that not I'm not fat, but I'm not skinny. I feel like I'm kind of like in the middle. And then I'd say that I'm like tall, because everyone always talks about, oh my gosh, you're so tall. I didn't realize you'd be that tall in person, things like that.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think that's how I would describe myself.
Okay. Um, how would you describe your gender?
I would say that I identify. Um, I'm trying to think of the way. Masculine, male identifying.
Yeah. Okay. Um, how would you describe yourself based on personal qualities without physical attributes in mind?
I'd say that I'm a dependable person. I try to like help everyone, which sometimes can like be to my detriment because I'm like trying too hard to care about everyone else, and then sometimes I forget about me. Um, and then I like to say that, or I like to think that I'm a good listener, and like if people have issues, they can like come to me and talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Um, next question. How do you think people see you at home?
I think at home, I am seen kind of like independent, or I'm more independent now because I've been like going to college and like here in Norman for as long as I have. And then also I'm kind of the like not father figure, but like the male head of the house because my dad's out in Ohio.
Right. Okay. Um, how do you think people see you at school?
I think at school people see me as a really involved person. Sometimes some people are like, "Wow, you are like too involved. How do you do anything?" Um, and then um, like a like a really driven person because I have so much on my plate with like my majors and my minors and all my involvement stuff.
Mm, okay. How do you think people see you on the street?
On the street, I think that varies. I feel like uh, in certain situations, people may have certain like stereotypes about me as a black man on just walking down the street, and so they might be like, "Oh, uh, he's a little dangerous. I shouldn't be over there." And then like they'll talk to me and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, he's not like a dangerous person. He's just like a regular person."
Okay. When is the first time in your life you became conscious of race? Describe, was it an experience, moment, or something other than that?
Um, I think the I think the first time was probably at school. It was probably when we were talking about um like hmm, it was probably at school while we were talking about like slavery or something, and it just clicked to me that I was like, wait, I'm one of like two black people here, and everyone else is like white or Hispanic or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. What's the funniest experience that has happened to you about race, gender, or class in your lifetime?
Funniest experience. I think a funny or a kind of funny experience in speech and debate. I did standard oratory, which is where you like kind of uh, recite someone else's speech.
Yeah.
And so there was this speech that my friend did the year before as like her own speech that I kind of wanted to do because it was really funny. And it was called the word, and so uh, it was about like the first time she was called an Oreo uh, in school, and at the beginning there was this really funny um, like interpretation of someone uh like a black person trying to be like overly black. And so he was like, engage the people. Can't nobody write no 635-page bill or something. It was something like that. And it was just really funny. And it was like, because from that, it like went to talk about how growing up, she wasn't really the blackest kid. She was kind of like that black kid that talked white and all that kind of thing. And so um, I remember the first time I watched it, I just laughed for like 15 minutes after that first part because it was so funny. And I was like, wow, this is really good. And so every time I did it, I would just kind of like laugh to myself
Yeah,
because I remembered that first time.
that's cool. Okay. What has been the most challenging experience about anything about race, gender, or class in your lifetime?
I think an ongoing challenging experience is like interactions with the police. Like anytime I am driving down the street and I'll see a cop, I'm like, ooh, let me slow down a little bit. Let me make sure I'm not speeding or anything so I don't get pulled over and then something crazy could happen from that. Um, and for a while, I would get like stressed, like really stressed out about just like seeing cops in general, especially after all of the stuff that happened this summer. Um, like I went to uh, there was a protest in OKC um, after all the George Floyd stuff, and so I went and I was like, I will go until it gets crazy, and then once it gets crazy, I want to leave.
Yeah.
And so we went, and then we left. We got lunch, or we got dinner because it was kind of later um, downtown. And then as we were leaving, we like passed through all of the craziness with like tear gas, rubber bullets, and stuff. And my friends were like, "Oh, let's just stay. Let's like be there and like support them." And I was like, I do not feel comfortable. I want to go home. Can I go home, please? And they were just kind of like fighting back with me about it. And I was like, this is a weird situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably one specific instance that was like really challenging because I didn't want to be like a a Debbie Downer and like, oh, we got to leave, but also I just didn't feel safe
Hmm.
in that situation.
Yeah. Okay. What is your perception of your power in society? Is there any limitations? If so, why or why not?
So when I think about my power in society, I feel like it's pretty equal to or I feel like it's equal, and there are times when it's not because of my race. Like some people might discount what I have to say because I'm a black man, and they're like, "Oh, you're just worried about race. Like you're always worried about race. Why are you? We have to talk about race." But I think that, uh, especially from going to the protests last summer, I feel like I do have a lot of power that I didn't really realize that I had, and I think that like going forward into my possible future, my future career as a lawyer, I think that I have like a specific experience that will grant me um, some power in that field, especially since like Black people are uh, disproportionately higher. Uh, there are disproportionately higher rates of like incarceration and arrests and like going into court, and so I feel like that'll give me like a good uh what's the word, I'll be like a good bridge because I'm a black person and I know what it's like to be black in America, um and I can like kind of work with them better, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely. How well do you believe the media represent men in general? Why?
I think that the media does a interesting thing when it comes to men, uh, because there will be times when men do something wrong, uh, like the Baylor football team incident where they like had sexually assaulted someone, and then for a while it'll be, oh my gosh, all men are the worst. Like we like men as a group are bad, which I mean, men are pretty bad. But I feel like sometimes they clump everyone together. I feel like this happens even with like race and stuff too. And so I think that that's something that we need to tweak a little, or we need to fix a little bit, because I think the media too too easily just kind of clumps everyone into a group, and if you are a part of this group of people, then you are automatically bad, and like just kind of you fit into all the negative things about that group of people.
Right. Right. Okay. How do you believe? How well do you believe the media represent women in general? Why?
I think I feel like women are they're getting better represented, but there's still a lot of the negatives, in terms of like stereotypes and like, oh, they're gonna. I remember back when Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were fighting for the presidency, it was like, oh, we can't have Hillary because she'll have a period and she'll like nuke Russia or something and cause a nuclear war. And everyone was like, no, that's obviously not going to happen. And so I think that there's a lot of work to be done still to like properly represent women, and even specifically Black women um, are like at a disadvantage in the eyes of the media. I think back to like the Megan Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez situation. Everyone was like, "Oh, Tory Lanez was right. Like he didn't do anything wrong." And Megan Thee Stallion was like, "No, he literally shot me in the foot, and I had to like hide it so that the cops didn't get involved, and it became this whole big thing." And so I think that the media has a lot of work to do to like help to better represent women.
Right. Okay. Um, how well do you believe you've already kind of spoke on this, but how well do you believe the media cover racial topics, class issues, diversity, and what's some reasons for your opinions?
I think the media uh, really capitalizes on like tension and division, and so in that they don't represent racial groups the best. Um, like if there's a school shooter and it's a white guy, they will represent him a different way than um, if it was like an act of terrorism um, caused by someone who might be of like Muslim descent or something like that. Um, and so I think that kind of help or that continues the like division that we have in America between like racial groups and between even like religious groups. Um, and then I feel like with class specifically, they love to get poor people on camera so that everyone feels kind of bad about them being poor, but then nothing really gets done about it. Besides just like, oh, look at this little kid who's like struggling on the street. Uh, we should do something about it. And then there'll be bills and laws that are trying to get passed to like have better welfare and things like that. And they're like, no, we can't do that. They can get better on their own, but it's like that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. What's the hardest thing about race for you to talk about or to think about? Why?
I think for me the for me the hardest thing about race is or to talk about is when people ask me how the entire or people expect me to like speak for the entire community, because I feel like that's something that happens a lot with like um, racial minority groups, but it doesn't always happen with like you don't ask one white person how all white people think about this one thing. It's just kind of like, oh, you're black. How do you think about this? And it's like, well, I might have a different idea of what this one specific instance is than all the other black people that I know. But does that and then it's kind of like a weird like mental thing like am I different, am I like not black enough because I don't fit into this same idea of what everyone else is thinking about this specific issue. And so I think that's probably the hardest thing is like when people come to me to try to get a feel of how the entire community is feeling because the entire community is a bunch of different people with a bunch of different ideas.
Is there anything else about your race, gender, class, identity that you would like to add that we did not discuss? If not, it's okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, thank you, Jared. I will stop recording now.